Are we live? Are we live? Are we live? I think we might be live. Yes, there we are. Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing? Happy Friday. Oh my goodness. What is going on? Hello, early crew. Hello, James. Hello, Zernicki. Hello, Ashley. Hello, Audrey. Hello, Nathan. Hello, Maya. Hello, Rom. Hello, hello. I hope you all are having an amazing Friday today. Oh my gosh. So, just really quickly here, as we're coming into the stream, as we're getting settled in, couple things. So you may know this if you've been on my Patreon streams. Actually, yesterday I was on there. Audio issues from my headphones are fixed, so yay. Audio issues instantly transferred to my camera instead. It's like I have a ghost that possesses audio equipment, and this microphone's probably going to be next. So, just I should get some ghost hunting equipment in here. So, I'll just show you guys my camera, because I don't know if anybody's ever wondered what camera I use. Now you're going to find out. Okay, so also I've had caffeine, which never happens, so I'll explain why. Okay, so if I act weird, it's because I'm juiced, but not in a steroid way. Okay, so this is my camera. Oh, the lens cap fell off. Let's fix that, shall we? This is my camera, Panasonic Lumix G6, G7. It says on here somewhere. One of those ones. So I have this hot shoe microphone, which I really, really love, actually. It's Sennheiser. They make good stuff. MKE 440. I had an issue with my old microphone on this camera that has a battery light indicator on the side. And it goes between green and red. There is no way to tell how much battery power it has other than just on or off. And I can't see this light when I'm filming. And I thought it'll start to fade to kind of like a lighter green, but it's really hard to tell if it's like getting low on battery power. And I filmed last week, like I normally do, literally 3 hours of video footage. And it was like a tin can. Oh, it was like all over the whole. That's like anti-ASMR. It's like the reverse ASMR. So bad. And it was just awful. It was like unusable. I did manage, after several hours of my absolute like hardest audio EQing I've ever done, I managed to get the audio usable enough for the video I did on my field experience. And the reason why I kept that one is, one, because the audio wasn't, like, objectively, for some reason, that video, the audio was better than the second video I filmed that day. And I just couldn't save the second one. So I had to, like, completely refilm the videos from the last week I had filmed and film this week. And, like, it was just, oh, God. The camera thing, I tested out. I did some, like, testing on it. And I think what ended up happening is actually it wasn't a low battery issue, which has happened before, like, a year ago. But it was an issue with the microphone plugs into the camera. So the audio and the video are, like, perfectly synced together. And I think maybe the headphone jack wasn't, like, all the way plugged in. And so because there was a little bit of a gap in the connection, that's what made it sound like so staticky. So I don't know. That's what happened this week. I have literally, I've been editing some really big videos. I have a 35-minute video. I have a 45-minute video coming out next week. So if you like the really big long videos, the big juicy topics, we're gonna get a nice juicy content burger, a double-decker content burger this week. That's what's going on. So anyways, I was up until 2 a.m. I think I fell asleep at 4 a.m. last night. It was great. Filmed again this morning. Now we're live streaming, and I think I'm ahead enough now to where I can have an actual weekend. But it's been an intense couple of days, you know. I hope everyone is doing well. Hopefully having less technical issues than I am. Though that's not hard to do. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. I don't know. It's that time of year. What can I say? Do you have higher end NVIDIA graphics card? There's a thing you get if so, NVIDIA broadcast. Yeah, I do use NVIDIA broadcast when I'm streaming. But the thing is that only works as far as I know, that only works for when you're recording using NVIDIA broadcast. You can't use it as an editing for like an editing software for after the fact. I use Audacity, and you know what ended up working very well, but I don't film using I actually did a video earlier today where I did that actually, so it's kind of a lie. But I have used the NVIDIA broadcast. Actually, that's what I use over the summer when I have an AC unit or whatever, like fans, when I have like fans going in here during the summer. That's what I use to make it so you guys can't hear the fans. But it's good stuff. I recommend it. I do have I got lucky getting an NVIDIA graphics card when I had to rebuild my computer. I don't think I'd be able to do that again now. 91 degrees this week? Oh my goodness. It's like 50 something here. It's 47 is what it is. However, it gets dark at 5 p.m. So I think I'd rather have it be, well, actually, you know what? In the summer here, I'm so far north, it stays light out until like 8:30, 9 p.m., which I really like personally. So maybe I wouldn't move farther south, actually. Oh, I meant just to help on the recording end. Yeah, I would if I recorded via my computer, that would work. But because I record on a separate camera that's not connected to the graphics card, like would it help for streaming? But it doesn't help for like just general video filming usage. Oh, do you guys want to see my outfit? I actually really like this outfit today. So I got this on Poshmark for $20. It's from Creepsville 666, I think is the name of the brand, and it's like a cute little skeleton dress. And I got a little skeleton necklace. I don't know if that's gonna focus on it or not. Anyway, skeleton necklace, skeleton dress. It's cute. And look at my manicure actually is doing pretty good also. This is a week. I painted my nails, I think, last Saturday. And I have just like a little bit of chipping. It is the Nailtopia nail polish at Ulta is so good. Such good quality if you want to do your own nails. It's changed my life. It's changed the nail game. Are there bones in the back? No, it's just in the front. I am excited at one point to wear this outfit out with like a leather jacket somewhere. I think that would be really cute. Ooh, 30 mile. It's a heat storm, 30 mile per hour gusts. Oh God, what part of the world has weather like that where you have a hot windstorm? Are you in the desert? Are you currently amongst the sand dunes? Are you on the planet of Arrakis? Yes or no? Yeah, I filmed a video earlier today, so this is why I look dressed up comparatively to how I normally look when I stream. Oh, okay, so you guys, other update before we get into the Q&A. So there is a Korean Netflix show that I'm talking about this now because I think if I don't, I'm gonna get questions about it. So we're just gonna talk about it now. There is a Netflix show that came out that's called Love and Leashes. Somebody told me, I think it was based on manhwa. It was based on, somebody left a comment and told me. I got a bunch of comments in German. Oh, a webtoon called Sensual M. And it is a female dom, male submissive, like, movie. And it's like, I don't know. It came out today, I think. And I'm trying to find a link of, like, so you guys can see. There was a trailer for it that came out a little while ago, but I don't want to spoil anything. Okay, here, I'm just gonna link the trailer. And I want to listen, I was into K-pop at one point about 12 years ago. So I don't know anyone that's currently a K-pop artist. So sorry, I'm not a K-pop stan. I guess, I apologize for the error of my ways. But this looks like it could be really fun. Could be cringe. And I love the fact that Netflix is trying so hard to make BDSM media work. It's so funny to me. So they did 365 days, right? They did Bonding, which unfortunately got canceled. So there's no third season. We never get to see the pro-doms build their own dungeon. So sad. And then this one, which is an adaptation of a BDSM themed webcomic. So listen, if they don't do an original anime series for Nanatokoro, I lose all faith in humanity. Like they have to do. I'm calling it 2024 Nanatokoro anime adaptation from Netflix. Netflix original anime. I'm fucking put that on the map. It's happening. So, if you guys are interested in that, is she from Girls' Generation? Oh yeah, you mean that era? Yeah, no, I was really into fuck, they had so many names. I was really into TVXQ. That was the one that I was really into. But yeah, it was the Girls' Generation. Fuck, I can't remember a lot of Super Junior, like that era of K-pop. Like that was when I was around. And then I became aware of how exploitative and planned the K-pop industry is, and I couldn't support it anymore, and I just completely like stopped listening to it in any regard. So I didn't catch which manga you wanted to see become an anime here. I'll just put it in it's Nanatokoro. I think this is how you spell it. I can't even spell English. I mean, to be fair, I don't know Japanese either. I just listen to enough anime to where I occasionally incorrectly pick up on things. Yeah, that's what. And it's also called Nana Ankoru, because like to is like a particle that means and. I've had that. You know what? I haven't actually read it before. I've had it recommended to me a lot. And it was, the little clips from it were really popular on Tumblr back in the day for, like, pet players. It's pretty legendary, it is true. Pretty legendary. So anyway, let me catch up on the chat here for a second. Those are the updates. If you guys want to watch, the reason why I linked to Love Unleashes, by the way. Great name. I wonder if the Korean name is like the same or if it's like different. I wonder if they named it differently in Korean. So we're going to watch that. I'm not sure when. I'm going to put a poll up for Patreon to see when people want to watch it. I was kind of toying around with the idea because on Valentine's Day, I'm taking Bandit to her surgery consultation. And I'm kind of toying around with the idea of doing like maybe an early evening like Valentine's Day viewing of this for the people who are, you know, participating in Singles Awareness Day, you know, have a little bit of a community moment for that, but also give people that are doing something for Valentine's Day, like, they get to still watch it, but then go do stuff with their partner later, you know? Or possibly something the day before or after. I'm not really settled on when. Of course, if we did it on the 13th, that would be really short notice. But I want to watch it soon because I think it would be fun to do a review of it. Because it is just a movie, and that's way easier to review than an entire series. When you're reviewing a whole series, oh man, that takes so much work. And Netflix has been pretty good with the copyright claiming with their stuff before, so they should probably be okay. You wouldn't need Netflix. The point of it doing it on Patreon and Vimeo is that, like, I would be the one that would be hosting the viewing, and then we'd be having, like, a reaction and, like, commentary, like, viewing together. Like, you would just have to be on Patreon. For any level of Patreon person. Which, by the way, I think we had a new patron in the house. I think it was, who was it? It was not Amanda. Audrey? Yes. Hi, Audrey. Thank you for being a new patron. Glad that you are enjoying it. There's so many years of content on there. I think I have like 300 live streams on there. I have a lot of live streams. I have like 80 videos on there as well. So there's a lot of content to get through. Aw, that's so sweet. Went to go to the grocery store and there were pink calla lilies on the front door. Guessing my husband pre-ordered the flowers for Valentine's Day before deploying. That's so sweet. How thoughtful. That's great. I love your necklace. Thank you. I've owned this for years and I very rarely get to wear it because, like, it needs a very particular neckline to work with it, I feel like, and this is like the exact kind of thing. I don't have like, I wish I kind of had skeleton tights or like bone tights to wear with this, but then I think that verges into like cheap skeleton Halloween costume territory, so maybe that's for the best. I'm not that caffeinated. I had like 3 sips of an energy drink, so like the equivalent of having like half a cup of coffee. So I don't know anything about that. I don't know if that's very caffeinated or not at all. I don't think it is. Hi Evie, been watching your channel for about a year now and love you so much. I took your thoughts on LX to heart. I don't watch your stuff anymore. Yeah, for people who don't know, I'll just mention this really quickly. I don't like talking about other like BDSM YouTubers in like a negative way, but um I know from talking to like other like content creators and bloggers and like sex educators that LX like blocks a lot of other sex educators for no reason. Like I've been blocked on her Twitter and a couple other people have been blocked on her social media like for no reason. We haven't even talked to her, said anything to her directly. It's just like we're all like proactively blocked. And she has a lot of like not turf, sorry. She has a lot of like anti-porn stuff on her Twitter, like basically literally like not in a complicated let's have a nuanced discussion of porn as a medium and acknowledging that porn can cause misconceptions and issues while also realizing that the issue is not porn itself but a larger societal attitude around pornography and sexuality and consent and blah blah blah. Like it's just like porn turns your brain into Swiss cheese. Like it's like 90s parents worried about video games turning children into serial killers like type shit, which is not how that works as it turns out. So anyways, I don't recommend her stuff. And if you like her stuff, that's fine. Like if you're like her perspective on BDSM like really speaks to me. We come from a similar background. I'm just skeptical because I feel like it's a really weird sign to like actively block other sex educators and like without having even interact with them. Like that just seems super weird to me. I don't really know anyone that does that. Like even the really like overly sensitive like Twitch streamers don't typically do that. Like that's like a next level thing in my opinion. So take my opinion with a grain of salt. Obviously form your own opinion. I just would not personally recommend her content, but if you choose to watch it, that's great. I think it's good to get your opinions from a diverse source of people. I'm just like her values don't match my values, and so I can't like recommend her content in that regard because I think things like porn deserve having a nuanced conversation around them. It deserves to be something that is discussed in a way where we acknowledge the shortcomings and also the ways that it could be improved, and it's not somehow the spawn point for all of the ills in society. Yeah, her videos are really sketch, and she's very judgy and superior and dominant towards everyone who watches her channel. That I noticed that as well. She has like on Twitter and stuff. She'll like because it's if you want to get around a block on Twitter where somebody has a public account, you just like log out and you can see people's tweets. And so it's Twitter blocking is very limited in its capacity, but. And, like, she calls people beta as, like, an insult, and I find that so weird, because in order to, like, you can do it ironically, like, I will, like, streaming and stuff, like, ironically as an obvious joke, call people, like, oh my god, you're such a beta right now, but, like, I'm doing it in a clearly sarcastic way, where it's, like, I think this is silly, but if you are seriously calling other people betas as an insult, and you are a sex coach, you at minimum did not do the fucking bias training you were supposed to do as part of that program. I don't get it. It was weird to me. I don't get it. You're cute. I like your hair. Thank you. I started doing Olaplex recently. There's a new product that came out on the market at Sephora called K18. That's like a brand new peptide thing that actually is supposed to bond to your hair and actually can reverse damage. It's the only thing in the market that might actually be able to reverse things like split ends, which is really exciting. But I've been doing Olaplex. I've done like 2 treatments with it now, and I feel like, I mean, you guys probably can't really tell on camera, but it feels like really like soft and smooth, and I really love the texture of it. So yeah. Oh, and I also got my little thing trimmed, my little hair doodle. The guy who trimmed my hair was so confused. I called on the phone to make an appointment. I was like, do you charge differently for a women's haircut and just a bang trim? And then he was like, oh, yeah, no, that's fine. We didn't want to make an appointment. Then we made an appointment. And then I was like, I just want this trimmed. These bangs are fine, but it's this half. And then he was like, oh. And then he just trimmed it for like 20 seconds. And then I tipped him like $10. Because I feel bad about like, I wasted an appointment slot just to get like a 20-second trim. But the place is really nice and it's walking distance from here. So I'll probably end up going back. But anyways, it was good. It was good stuff. So I know last week we did kind of a really intense live stream about, you know, a really heavy topic. I've been dealing with a lot of really heavy topics in terms of like reviewing stuff and preparing video content. It's, you know, researching stuff about choking, researching stuff about stealthing and SA and the responsibility of like content creators. Then we had this other person, and I know Zernicki, you mentioned at the beginning. Oh, let me find your comment. Let me find it again because it made me laugh. Ooh, new glasses? That's exciting. I might need glasses at some point. My family members that use glasses, so it's probably only a matter of time when my eyes finally go and I have to replace them. No rant this week. At least that means no big toxic jerks came out recently, except for Rogan. So about that, everyone. You wouldn't know this if you're not on Twitter. Well, maybe you might know if you're a fan of Moist Critical, aka Charlie, or if you're like if you follow the Ethan Klein or HH, you may know about this. There was a GTA speedrunner named Dark Viper AU who came out with a 14-page, meticulously written, as he says multiple times, documents about reaction streaming, which was very funny to me because that same day I was filming a reaction video. Actually, there was a Vice documentary that came out about femdoming. It was not really about femdoming. Femtams. That came out about femdoming earlier this week, and I filmed a reaction to it, and his document does specifically accept out like expert commentary from being qualified as being a reaction thing, but he wrote this really big document about literally, and I quote, all React streamers or all React content creators are bad. So because I have done reaction videos to Blair White, thinking that pet play is the same as being a trans speciesist, and calling out bad Vice documentaries that do not accurately represent our community, I am a bad content creator. And in order to do this, he compared the malicious actions of reaction streamers stealing people's content, bold claim, to SA, to assault. People told him, hey dude, you could probably make this argument without having to reference SA, because there's all kinds of consent violations that happen, right? All kinds of stuff that people do that violate other people's consent that don't rise to that level of like potentially life-altering, permanently damaging event, you know? Like, I think somebody watching your video on a stream is probably more like when a coworker like eats a cookie you brought into the office without asking permission first. Like, it's kind of like, oh man, those were my cookies, but like I still have most of my cookies, and like I have more cookies at home. Like, it's, you know, it's like a little bit sucky, but like, is it really? You gotta compare React streamers to like, oh, you shouldn't be around like reaction streamers. If you see them at a party, cover your drink because they're the kind of person that would roofie you. And it's like, I'm so glad you live in a world where you've never had to seriously consider like what the realities of SA look like enough to compare React streamers to that kind of behavior. And it's so stupid because like there's all kinds of stuff that comes out all the time about actual content creators, right? Like James Charles, who had a whole scandal like 8 months ago where he's sexting minors on Snapchat. like, there's plenty of actual bad content creators to call out for actual instances of abusing their platform that is like a fair comparison, if not just directly the act itself. Like, how about we talk about the Dave Portnoys of the world that run entire media empires and use that empire to get 18-year-olds to fly to their houses and have non-consensual kinky sex. Like, I don't like what? So I had a little bit of a thing about that, mostly because the 14 pages are very badly written, and it makes me upset when people declare how amazing their essay is and they can't kill their darlings or pay editors even when they have 1 million subscribers on a YouTube channel. And then they go, my essay's perfect, I won't change it, my analogy's fine. And it's like, well, there's about 500,000 people that are all telling you that comparison was bad and inappropriate, and you're not listening, so thanks for being part of the problem. It's just, the overstatement of harm is like such a thing that happens on the internet, and it's like, I don't, like, I think there's like, there is utility to talking openly about instances of inappropriate behavior, but I think as a result of that, there's been this continual use and escalation of things like gaslighting and love bombing and abuse and assault and all these other things have now, in some cases, more often been used as a way to describe much more banal activities than what the term is intended to describe, such that it dilutes the actual severity of the issues that it's attempting to point at. So I'm not a fan of that. I don't really think anything's going to come of it, because at the end of the day, like, if you're a YouTuber who writes a 14-page manifesto that basically says no one should be making React content anymore, like, that's not going to actually change anything. It wasn't like Susan fucking Wachowski, Wojcicki, sorry, Wachowski. I was just watching a review of Matrix Resurrections before I started streaming. So, that was sort of on my brain a little bit, but, it's not coming from Susan herself, so, nothing's really going to happen, is it? Plus, he made, like, some shitty comparisons to trickle-down economics, which made me just go, oh my god, you don't even know what trickle-down economics is. Sit the fuck down. Oh my god. People that don't understand economics trying to make analogies about shitty economic theories of the 80s. It brings me pain. It brings me pain and suffering. So, that's my pain and suffering for the week. That's my week on Twitter. Luckily, basically, to sort of put an end note on last week's stream, in regards to, stealthing and things like that, I do have a fully scripted video on stealthing with the research I did find, which was fascinating because there's not that much of it. I found, like, basically every study that's been done on stealthing, more or less. At least that goes by that terminology, or by the terminology of non-consensual condom removal. So, we're going to be doing a deep dive into that. Hopefully equip you all with some knowledge, because one of the studies that I found that just came out last year indicated that 5% of college students know what stealthing is. And they are in the most high-risk demographic for stealthing to happen. Stealthing happens mostly for people between 18 and, like, 25, I think, whatever that age bracket cutoff is. So it's really, really important that younger people know about this. It's really important that young adults that are just kind of coming into their sexual debut, if you will, know what this is. And so I'm doing the video about it as sort of a standalone way outside of that conversation to really, really have a detailed look at it, kind of understand, what you should know about it, what the research says about it, and just give people knowledge, hopefully, that they can help keep themselves safe. Maybe if you have younger siblings or younger friends, or, because this can happen to anyone, right? This can happen to anyone. Happens to gay men, happens to straight women, happens to NB people, happens to everyone. Really, really important for everyone to know what the dangers are there, how to possibly prevent it from happening or detect it happening as soon as possible. So that's going to be possibly, might be a couple weeks, might be like 2 weeks or so. I just have some other videos in the queue right now that are less depressing. So I'll probably publish the less depressing stuff first. And some other fun videos as well, pleasure doms, things like that. So yeah, not me, a college student who doesn't know what stealthing is. Oh, don't worry, Maya. Okay, I will short explanation, not to derail the stream too much into this territory. But stealthing is when somebody agrees to have sex wearing a condom, and then secretly removes the condom during sex without asking for consent first to remove the condom. It is a form of reproductive coercion if you're somebody that's having, heterosexual intercourse. And it is not good to do, and it is bad. And the part about it, honestly, that's really scary that I found in the research is that this is not just like guys that don't like wearing condoms and try to find a way to get out of wearing condoms. It is named that way because it was named that by basically an online, I'm not sure if it's like a 4chan thing or what, but like a 4chan and other message board, associated groups of people that believe they have the fundamental right to have bareback sex whenever they want, because it is man's need to spread his seed anywhere he pleases. And so condoms being a violation in their mind of their fundamental right to come anywhere. So ridiculous. They feel emboldened to remove condoms whenever they feel like, or at minimum, sabotage condoms, poke holes in them, etc., etc., etc. Really fucking disturbing, weird shit. Again, a couple weeks from now, we'll have a whole deep dive video into all of that. In the meantime, some lighthearted videos, because I feel like the ones I've been doing recently have been kind of like, been intense. The field one was funny, actually. I like doing the one on field with the editing. I was a little worried that people might take it the wrong way, but you guys all seem to really enjoy that. I wish it was a troll, but like the literature does not suggest that. And actually, the reason I know it's not is because actually there were news outlets. Well, I guess trolls also go to news outlets, but like there were people that were interviewed by news outlets that were like part of these groups that were like, yeah, we have a right to do this. Like condoms are alienation of our rights as men, and like just fully unironically embracing that as just being how life is. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that just some people? How do you live? I just don't understand the background worldview you have to have in order for that to be like how you see the world on a basic level, where you feel that entitled to other people's bodies. Yeah, and it was like, God, I don't want to spoil the whole video, but like 10% of men between the ages of 14 and 28 have stealthed someone. And for the people that have stealthed someone, they are twice as likely to have experienced an unwanted pregnancy in that relationship. So, great stuff. Great stuff. Well, all of that being said, let's get into the actual live stream Q&A portion of the evening here, and we'll keep the dialogue going as I catch up with that. Again, this, guys, is an 18 plus only live stream, as it says right down there. Please read the rules, read the FAQ. That's also down below. Just some very basic guidelines. We don't give medical advice here. We don't give psychiatric advice. If you want to know about if something is like medically dangerous or not, I'm not going to be able to tell you about that. And outside of streamer bullshit, we generally try to stay away from the politics. Keep it lighthearted, we keep it fun. And let's get into it. Yeah, 10%. Then it was a very small population study. It was only of about 600 people. So by no means representative, but this was only identified in the literature as a phenomenon that had a particular name and practice like 4 years ago. So as far as like research lead times go, and with the pandemic and everything else happening, research that we've been able to do so far has been very, very, very limited. I couldn't find any evidence that it's interconnected with incel ideology, but that would definitely be something that I would be curious to look into if I was a researcher, is identifying, in the case of gay men, views of other men and patriarchal beliefs, and in the case of straight men, beliefs about women and women's sexuality and feminism. Like, I would definitely want to sort of evaluate the axes that incels potentially share with this group of people, because it is scary. Oh my gosh. Scary, 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 scary. I think the only way that it was like previously known about was there are people that are in like DV, so like domestic violence situations, where that kind of reproductive coercion happens as like a way of trapping somebody in a relationship. But this is sort of a related but slightly different version of that. Yes. So gay men do experience stealthing. Actually, the term stealthing I think was originally because it's so I don't really talk about this in the video, so I'll share this now because I sort of decided not to get into this part of it too much. But stealthing actually in its original use in the gay community was about HIV positive men, like especially before PrEP was like widely used, was about HIV positive gay men removing condoms during sex to spread HIV to other men that were HIV negative. Which is, it's reverse bug chasing. It's really fucked up. And it's bug giving, actually. That's probably a better word for it. And now it's sort of transitioned to mean like any time that you like remove a condom non-consensually during sex, and all of them are fucked up. But the studies I saw were primarily on heterosexual women and straight men, but there's definitely happens within the gay community as well, because there were some like broader studies that also had gay men saying that they had experienced stealthing, but not on like gay men as perpetrators of stealthing. Like that's something that I didn't see any research on. Listen, PrEP is good. If you are a person with a penis that has sex with other people with penises, really, really, really look into that, okay? I strongly encourage it. Keep yourself safe. It works so well. It's literally a godsend. Do not look the science medicine gift horse in the mouth, okay? That's my 2 cents on that. And really that's all that needs to be said. Okay, let's see here. Hello from the UK. Well, hello to the UK. It's pretty late your time, isn't it? It's got to be almost midnight. Thanks for hanging out with us. I mean, to be honest, it feels like midnight right now. I'm like 6:30, more like 11 p.m. It's probably because of my diet today has mostly been caffeine. And not. I had some like not bagel bites, but like the totinas, the pizza rolls, right? Like those ones. Like, I found vegan versions of those that I don't remember who makes them. I had some of those earlier today. That was what I had. It's pretty good. Okay, so LX is, or LEX, I think it's LX, is another BDSM affiliated YouTuber, has a much smaller channel than mine. No hate. Comes at it from a female dom perspective. Don't recommend her stuff. Pretty much it. Let me see here. Oh, and by the way, because this is an interactive Q&A, guys, like, if you want to ask about BDSM stuff about recent videos, asexuality, polyamory, any questions related to any of that, it's just an open Q&A. I am here to answer questions. So whatever it is that's on your mind. I know we didn't really get to any FAQ or just general cues last week, so I want to make sure we have time to really focus on that this week, since we didn't get to do that last week. Oh no. Hey, Evie, just got off work, long day. I swear if I have another person tell me, but you don't look like a lesbian, you might see me on the news. Oh no, I'm sorry about that. People have like weird stereotypes about stuff. Like, I don't know, lesbians come in all shapes and sizes. Like, do people think that gay men only come in like a twink or drag queen form? Like, I don't understand. It's so silly. People can look like whatever and be into whatever, okay? It's 2022. Let people do whatever the fuck they want. Who cares? I'm not having a great day today. Supposed to be going to a lunch tomorrow after visiting friends, but I feel very unprepared for both. That would be very overwhelming. I would definitely not schedule myself for 2 of those things back to back. It would be one or the other situation for me. But I hope it turns out well. Don't be too nervous. Actually, you know what? Some good advice I have. So, advice segment on meeting people. Mini advice segment. I took a class actually earlier this week that is from the wonderful Shay Tiziano out of San Francisco, Wicked Grounds. If you're in the SF area of the world, you got great education down there. So many good opportunities. I took a class from Shay earlier this week that was about science. She's about science and BDSM, but there was a whole section on like the science of meeting people. So some quick tips based on the research, based on the hard facts and science, the logic. People feel closer to people and feel more like they like people if they ask questions, especially follow-up questions. So even if you're really introverted, you ideally don't have to talk almost at all. Just pay attention, ask questions, and ask follow-up questions, and people will pretty much like you. That's very, very strongly correlated. It's been repeated multiple times. People love being asked questions. There's also something called intimate disclosure. So as a function of having conversations, if you basically the way they researched this is they had strangers like sit in a room together, and they thought they were just waiting for the study to start, but they had one of the participants who was like in on it, and basically they had them ask like an increasing series, depending on which group they were looking at, of intimate disclosure things. So I'm trying to think of an example of one of the questions they maybe would have asked, which would have been like, you know, how like what's your favorite color? What's your most controversial movie opinion? You know, so on and so forth. So you get into like really, really intimate, private stuff. And when you practice like intimate, reciprocal disclosure with someone, that also very much increases like somebody's feeling of likeness towards you. So when you're in the kink community, that's really great, because what intimate disclosure can look like is, you know, you saying, hey, you know, I'm super excited to be here. I'm really new. I've been reading about BDSM for a long time, and I'm really interested in like XYZ thing, right? Like that right out of the gate, you're sort of opening the door with that vulnerability, and people tend to feel safer and more connected to people that express that vulnerability first, and then maybe they open up and you go back and forth. And when you have that kind of basically like initial, like you don't have to give people anything that would be like damaging or would be like upsetting for you to share, but if you can practice a level of like disclosure with things that, you know, are typically seen to be like private or a thing that a friend would talk about, then that can, you don't want to don't trauma dump on people, don't go in that, don't do that. But if you are you know, kind of willing to share more about yourself and your own intimate thoughts and feelings, that can really go a long way. And then there's one thing in here, I'm looking at my notes right now, there's like one thing in here in particular that would be like helpful for this situation. So even for, this is like, I would love to see if there's more research on this in particular, because like I personally don't know if I believe this or not, but the research indicates that even for people that are introverted, acting in an extroverted way makes them feel happier, like over the course of a week, right? If you take people who are introverted and tell them to have an introverted week and like stay at home and don't, you know, don't feel pressure to be social or whatever, and then you tell an introverted person to be like more extroverted and to go out and see friends and meet groups of people, even people who self-identify as introverted report being more happy after a week of being extroverted than people who are introverted that act introverted, which is really interesting. Personally, for me, I would interpret that data as indicating that, you know, we associate like introversion with sadness and depression, and extroversion with like happiness and gregariousness and enjoyment of things. And so it's I don't think it's necessarily about acting extroverted itself, but the stereotypes we have about people who are extroverted and taking on that role and like basically faking until you make it the feelings we associate with a stereotypical extroverted person. So even if you're really introverted and you're nervous, acting in a way that corresponds with more extroverted qualities can actually help you have a better time. You know, being talkative, being assertive, being spontaneous, those things can all really help. And you gain confidence in situations working through being uncomfortable. So if you are feeling uncomfortable, like you don't know what to expect, you're nervous, you will get more comfortable and you will gain confidence going through that discomfort, and it will be easier in the future. So don't worry too much. It's going to be great. People love talking about themselves. You can literally go, you can say hello to a bunch of people and just ask them questions, and you have a little bit of reciprocal disclosure on questions that you ask about. And you know what? You're on your way to making friends. You know what? It's great stuff. But don't feel, you know what? At the same time, though, don't feel ever pressured to stay somewhere. Don't feel like you have to ever act like in a way that makes you uncomfortable. If you are starting to feel like, I don't really like it here that much, I don't really get along with these people, I feel maybe sort of like I can't really trust these people, like if you get bad vibes, don't feel like you have to stay. It should always be okay to munch. And I wish more like social family stuff, but at a munch in particular, you should always feel free to leave at any time. And if you feel like you're really overwhelmed or you don't feel like safe or secure, you don't really connect with anyone, always feel free to leave. Totally fine. Or it should be. Or it should be. On your point of extroversion, studies show that people that value activities with others more tend to be happier. Yeah. And I think after going through the pandemic and being really separated from people for a really long time in a way that a lot of us have been, I would imagine that effect is possibly even greater. There's a pretty funny video on YouTube featuring Yoshi Kawasaki reviewing Wish BDSM gear. I don't know who Yoshi Kawasaki is, but I will look it up. Maybe I'll look that up for the Patreon live stream next week, and we'll watch it. Oh, Santa Ana wins. Okay. See, Bad Religion / Los Angeles Burning. The only reason I know about that is, well, not the only reason, but the thing that always reminds me of it is it The Holiday? It's the movie where the two blonde women, one from the UK, one from Los Angeles, they switch places, and then the one from Los Angeles falls in love with Jude Law or whatever, and then Jack Black is the other romantic lead in the movie, and Jack Black is the one that's in LA, and like he talks about the Santa Ana winds because there's like a part of the movie where it's like really windy, and that's how I always remember it. Never been to LA though myself. I'd love to go sometime. I'd really, for North America places I'd like to go I haven't been before, I'd love to go to Montreal, and I'd love to go to Los Angeles, and really just through San Francisco again. But I've been to San Francisco before a couple times and I like it, so it's always nice to visit. This is the first time I'm still awake while you're streaming. Gotta go to sleep soon. Yeah, thank you, Sadie. Glad you could be here for a little bit. Hope you enjoy as you're getting ready for bed. I woke up this morning and I accidentally left my phone playing videos when I was falling asleep, and I woke up and somehow I got on an ASMR video. It was like literally 3-hour Roman history ASMR video. No idea how the fuck I ended up there, but that's when that was like 7 a.m. And then I turned over and I went back to sleep, and then my phone was dead in the morning. But I've definitely fallen asleep listening to YouTube videos and stuff before. And then when you leave it on, you end up in weird places if you got autoplay turned on. That's what I learned. 3 hours of Roman history ASMR from a guy with a French accent. Who would have guessed? I mean, you're not really missing anything if you haven't seen Bonding. If you've seen my review, you've seen all of the good stuff. You've seen all of the good stuff. Ooh, okay. Interesting question from Jada, who asked, I have a question. How can I hide more of my sub-qualities in public so people don't take advantage of that? I'm naturally service-oriented, so it's hard to hide LOL. I want to show more of my brat side. Okay, so it's like you want to show more of your brat side in public at the same time. Okay, let me think about this for a second. So, hide sub-qualities in public so people don't make advantage of that. service oriented is hard to hide. I want you to progress it. Okay. So, I mean, I guess the alternative isn't that you have to show your brat side in public. I probably wouldn't do that because I sort of generally discourage any kind of non-consensual bratting. If it's to get someone off your back who's annoying you or is like pushing your boundaries, then like bring out the brat if you want to. But I totally get wanting to hide kind of those more like, especially service up oriented qualities, because I think, I don't know if there's any research about this, but I do think that people who are more like service sub oriented, if that is not something that is accompanied by a really strong sense of boundaries and a willingness to stick up for those boundaries, it is very easy for people that have bad intentions to identify that and try to take advantage of that. That is true. I don't know about in terms of BDSM, but I do know from research on violence against women that, you know, for example, people that were assaulted as children are twice as likely to be assaulted as adults. People that are assaulted as adults are like 20 times more likely to be re-assaulted again at least one more time, even if by different people. And there is something about either the, and I say that to say not that people bring that on themselves, but to indicate either one, that the experience of being taken advantage of, because the trauma that can, and I'm kind of, this isn't really your situation, but kind of just to fully explain the point, because trauma rewires your brain and trauma can affect your behavior, there might be something about the behavior that changes that makes it more likely that certain types of people can like identify that. And I think when you are somebody that is more naturally like subby or service oriented, there may be something in that like maybe makes people assume that like, oh, she's gonna do whatever I want, like I can take advantage. I know I'm assuming your gender identity here, but to speak from the research I've seen, which is primarily focused at women, I think there are people that definitely will exploit that at times. And so I think this isn't even necessarily really hiding your sub-qualities in public so much as it is learning different skills to go along with that and help you be more assertive. I think definitely establishing what your boundaries are and learning how to be comfortable, reestablishing those boundaries is really important, and like being confident and having like confident body language. I think if it's like a situation where you're just walking around in public and people are going to be interfacing with you, I think you can literally look up like confident body language, right, and see what it looks like, right? Don't stare at the ground, have your shoulders back, sit up straight, whole Jordan Peterson type thing. But it's true, because there's two reasons for that. One is when people see your body language as confident, they are going to interpret you as being a more confident person. And also you, because of mind-body connection, if you have confident posture, your mind is potentially going to go into like a more confident framework in order to like have basically just be synergized between the two, just have those two be in alignment. So having really confident, like more confident body language, and this doesn't mean like be an asshole, be a blowhard. It just means like you can carry yourself in a way that is more or less confident and choose the more confident option. And especially if you're not aware of what your body language is currently like I know for myself, I have definitely a tendency of like being very inward in my body language and like really being closed up, and that can definitely send out signals to people that would be on the lookout for people to take advantage of. Outside of that, definitely confident speech as well, besides the body language. If you know in yourself first what your boundaries are, it's harder for people to move those boundaries without you realizing they're doing it. Does that make sense? So, let's say, for example, you decide you are only willing to do people's laundry if you're in a committed relationship with them. And then you meet someone and you start a friendship and they kind of think, oh, well, they like being helpful. Maybe I can get them to do my laundry for me. If you already know ahead of time, I like doing laundry, I like helping people, but I only want to do it when I'm in a committed relationship, you can say, hey, I'd love to be able to help you. Unfortunately, I only really want to do that when I'm in a relationship with someone. Is there something else I can do to help you instead? Or just say like, hey, but I would be willing to do this instead. Or I would enjoy spending time with you doing this other thing. Right? So if you know where your boundaries are, it's harder for other people to convince you your boundaries are somewhere else. Of course, if you're in a situation where something feels dangerous or somebody has shown violent tendencies or behavior, that's a different conversation than this. I'm saying this is like in a scenario where you feel like it's safe to verbally stick up for where your boundaries are. It's much easier to do that when you've like got a list in your head of where your boundaries are. So, Bendita is so sleepy. She is not snoring, but I can hear her. She's like just not quite snoring, but breathing a little bit loudly. That's so cute. So that's sort of my answer on that. And then just sort of, I guess, being, if you're not really familiar with red flags, I think that can also help as well. And definitely one thing that is a red flag is people that are like trying to push boundaries, trying to tell you things that you should do. Oh, service sub should do this. If you're really a sub, you do this. Like there are red flags you can look for as well that can help you maybe figure out more quickly if someone is likely to be the kind of person that wants to try and take advantage. Anyways, that's my advice on that for now. I'd love to hear if you have any kind of follow-up on that, any further information, let me know, and we'll continue to chat about it. Oh, by the way, guys, it is already almost 7, so we're only almost an hour in here. If you want to make sure I answer your question, the best way you can do that is with a super chat. You can see a button for a super chat. It's a $sign in the chat, or you can go to the description box, open that up. One of the first links is going to be to my Streamlabs that goes through PayPal. Doesn't go through YouTube at all. And either way you do that, it'll make sure that I answer your question. And basically just bumps it up in the queue, because when I am doing these videos or live streams, I answer the questions in the order that they come in. I usually do not get to most of them or all of them. So this is just really the best way to make sure that I am able to keep up with everyone's questions. So there you go. All right, let's see. Next one. What do we got going on? What are we wondering? I finally embarked on the journey of Story of O, and I must say I really like the book so far, although it's a bit scattered, though that might be because it's a translated version. Isn't it originally in French? I've actually never read the Story of O. I believe I've watched one of the movie adaptations, though it's been quite a while. And I imagine that if you don't have a skilled translator that is also familiar with BDSM enough to sort of maybe reframe things a little bit, it could see that might end up being clunky. But I'm glad to hear it has positive reviews so far, because whenever you have like older media like that, it's always like kind of like, is this gonna be good or just cringy? Yeah, I heard it's really warm in California right now. I think that I like that we have seasons here, but I wish they didn't last so long. Like, if our rainy season goes from, like, September to May, it would be nice to have some months that were a little bit sunnier. And it's a little bit longer. Maybe we could start at, November, beginning of November, end of October, and then go until, like, beginning of April. I think I would be okay with that. Just, shave a month on either side, really, and then I'd be happy. Yeah, I find it odd how some second wave feminist ideas have come back in force and then some. Yeah, it's like I talked about this with Pup Amp when we did our last little collaboration together, and it really does seem like a lot of old, like, 80s sex wars feminism rhetoric is coming back into play. I mean, some of it never really went away. I think a lot of it is happening because I saw a graph earlier today that was like looking at like institutional transphobia and like laws against trans people that have been proposed over the last 10 years, and it's like it basically just goes like this. There are a lot of like newfangled laws against like the existence of trans people, which have gotten much more popular over the last couple of years, whether that be, um, you know, things related to school or trans people in sports or whatever. That is certainly coming back in force, and I think we're also seeing this. I don't even know really what it's related to or what's caused it, but certainly a lot more people, um, for whatever reason, going back to the whole dialogue of the 80s in regards to porn made by men, porn objectify women, therefore all porn bad, get rid of porn. And it's like, do you guys not remember, like, first wave feminism, where there was a subset of it that went really hard into prohibition? Like, whenever you have like a movement like that then gets affiliated with the secondary movement that's about like restricting people's consumption of something, it never goes well. Do we want like prohibition, if anything, made alcohol consumption like more dangerous because it was underground and hidden and illegal? Can you even imagine how much worse like porn would be if you made it illegal? Because people are always going to need something to jerk off to. And if they do not have easily accessible porn, they will find it somewhere on the dark web, in fucking pay for it in Bitcoin or whatever. Like, it's going to be, if the proposed thing is to get rid of porn, that's not really going to go well. It's not really going to go well. Yeah, so it's just sort of silly to me to paint any category like that with a broad brush, because when you do paint things with a broad brush, it becomes much easier to disprove the premise, as opposed to having a more nuanced opinion that I think is more resistant to, if you literally say all blank is bad, makes it much easier to find exceptions to the rule that disprove the all, So I don't really know what's causing it, though. I don't know if it's just sort of the struggles of the world and attempting to find answers to, blame issues on, or what exactly it is that makes people feel the way that they do about it. But yeah, people, they just don't like the pornography for some reason. That's weird. LX gave me weird vibes when she once became very angry about other people feeling they need BDSM in their lives. Like, she's very judgy about it. I mean, that explains why she's never done anything related to the BDSM community, right? Because as far as I know, she's never talked about going to a munch or a public dungeon or being part of a local community or anything. It's just like, she kind of just... we have to take her word for it. She does it, which out of evidence citation needed, I think that's interesting, though, because, like, I don't know. People have different relationships to things. Why be judgy about it? That's weird. I just wish we had more people in general that talked about like female dominant stuff. Actually, you know what? Morgan Thorne spelled with an E at the end. Morgan Thorne just came back with a video. I forgot to watch that on stream yesterday. I need to do that next week. She just came out with a video talking about kink versus fetish, I believe. And I hope she's going to be back and maybe make more videos. Remains to be seen how consistent that's going to be. But Morgan Thorne is a female dominant, also on the A spectrum. You love to see it. Former pro dom as well. And I think that it would be great if she continued to make videos again. And I definitely, if you're looking for information for female dominance from like a female dominant perspective, I really, really recommend her stuff, because I think, she's been both in the professional and in the lifestyle sides of BDSM and has a lot of experience, and I think is a very like genuine and authentic person. What? She called someone a beta for cheating on their dom in a video. It was hilarious, but it's not beta. What the fuck? I mean, cheating's not good, but like, I don't think that's a beta move. This means you're a shitty partner. That's funny. Oh, that's funny. The unironic usage of beta is hilarious to me, which I guess would make me a beta, right? Because only a beta would have a problem with that. I'm a regular. Listen, I'm fine. Listen, I'm a Sigma female, okay? Back the fuck up. I own my own business, and I live by myself. I think those are the two criteria for being a Sigma female, and you know what? I earned it. As a top, I have several vendors that I purchase nylon and natural fiber rope from. Is there any resources out there that have a list of more vendors of rope? I have lists for stuff like that on my Patreon. There's a link to it down below. It's on Patreon, but it's open to anyone. So feel free to check that out if you haven't seen it before. The place that I recommend going to, I don't know where you're at in the world. I personally, for especially for hemp and like exotic ropes, I really, really recommend Twisted Monk. Let's see, any other people that I've really, there's a place in South Africa that I like. But a lot of the rope vendor, like, people are, like, kind of weird. Like, I don't, like, the guy who runs S&M Rope, which is a UK-based company, he gives me, like, super weird vibes. Like, he talks about, like, he literally jokes on, like, his FetLife page about, like, I'm a like, literally being a creepy old man that prefers to play with young women. Like, he's literally, I think, in his 50s, and he only plays with rope bottoms in their early 20s, which I find really funny. And he's just like, yeah, I'm a perverted old man that likes playing with young women, and it's like, oh, there's no problem with that. And he gets, like, really, he's, like, one of those guys that gets very, like, elitist about rope, like rope terminology, which is just like so silly to me. Very willing to send samples of stuff and like easy to communicate with, but has sort of like weird views that I don't know how I feel about. And then Dijoto of Dijoto Rope has many consent violation accusations against him. Not at liberty to share any of those or where I got that information, but Dijoto has not been the most ethical person for being both a rope supplier as well as being an educator, which is really sad because I have liked his rope content in the past. I have learned from him in the past. I have bought his rope in the past, and to see that's really upsetting. But yeah, Twist Monk all the way for sure. Excuse me. Ooh, I just did a really intense scene last night where my partner chopped off the majority of my hair. It was very interesting and honestly very cathartic. That's awesome. I did that once a couple years ago. They didn't cut off all my hair, but they went at it with a knife and they cut off a good chunk of it, and then we had it cleaned up by an actual hairdresser later. It was a lot of fun. You know what? I like my long hair. I kind of want to see how long it ends up getting, but at some point I think I would go back to having like, you know, like this. Not like short, but like kind of like, you know, just at or below shoulder length, I think. I don't think I'd go super short again because when I did that, I feel like it made me look like older, but not in like a mature way, like in a negative way. I feel like it made me look like an old librarian. I can't really rock the pixie cut, unfortunately. But yeah, it can be really nice to let go. It can be really nice. Yeah, I use documentary very liberally when it comes to Vice. Um, it reminds you of a James Bond movie? Which one? You should do a react video to the paper? What paper? The Facebook papers? Panama Papers? The concept of paper? Am I missing something? Wait, what happened? React video to the paper. Or do you mean like a scientific paper, like an academic paper? Findom video that has absolutely nothing to do with findoming, lol. I mean, literally, though. Like, it's mostly about public humiliation, which is why I talked about it. Because, like, findoming as a subject, I feel like if I was going to wade into that as a, like, a standalone YouTube video, I would want to have, like, an expert, like, professional findom be with me. Like, somebody that I trusted that I knew did it ethically. I couldn't necessarily do a video like that on my own, but it was really funny to have like a video that was 12 minutes long with 30 seconds of it being about findoming and the rest being about like, I like walking men on leashes in parks. And one time I took a 40-year-old white man to my historically black college and walked him on a leash around a graduation party. Like, he's like, what the fuck? No, don't do that. He's gonna... I didn't get into this in the video, but I feel like there's an unspoken race play element going on there, at least on the submissive side, right? Because it's like, why are you fascinated by the idea of, in particular, being publicly humiliated as a white man on the campus of a historically black college in the South? Does that not seem like something that we ought to examine? Just digest, just process, you know, a little bit. Just a little bit of thoughtfulness. Oh, reacting to the Against React content paper. You know what? I thought about doing that on Patreon last night, and then I just realized it was exhausting. Because it's 14 pages, and most of my scripts, for videos, so like a video that ends up being 15 to 19 minutes is usually like 3.5 pages. Videos that are like 25 to 30 minutes are usually about like 5 pages or so, and then so on and so forth, right? So I think the longest video script I've written has been like 8 or 9 pages. Like the one I wrote on Billie Eilish was 6 or 7. Now, to be fair to this person, looking at their Google Doc, I use a smaller font than they do. And I definitely could write 14 pages, but because they don't have a teleprompter, if I wrote a 14-page video and I was trying to remember lines for that, it would be 2 hours long. Like, I've filmed videos that are an hour long with an 8 or a 9-page script. Like, 14 pages would be very long. But maybe I could do that at some point. If the dialogue around this continues, if the back and forth between these million, plus subscriber creators ends up continuing where it's like nobody can agree on anything, maybe I'll comment on it. It's just funny to me that like one guy got really mad about React content, made a 14-page manifesto, posted it on Twitter, and then got mad when people said that comparing watching a video on a stream to a sexual assault is not actually a good thing to do if you're trying to make a robust point. So, breach of contract, unauthorized moonlighting, stealing trade secrets, all better comparisons. Oh, absolutely. Like, if you're thinking about the business side of things, like, there's all kinds of, like, business contract violation stuff that I think maps onto this way, way better. Or even just, like, again, kind of simpler daily life stuff, Now Bandit's snoring. She's so cute. I love her and her little snores. Oh, copying test scores. That's a good one. Or maybe even, copying somebody's homework. Yeah, you can copy my homework, dude. Just make it look a little bit different. What is love bombing? Okay, love bombing is a technique that is used by abusive people in sort of what is called, if you know what the honeymoon phase is, it's basically where somebody overwhelms. It sounds like it should be nice, and but unfortunately, it's typically done at the beginning of an abuse cycle where somebody overwhelms someone with praise and affection and positivity, and I think actually the term originated from cults, from studying cults. This was something that was I think originally used by, well, I don't know about if it was never ever used before. But the reason it became a term was because this is one of the ways that cults in the 60s that were basically the hippie movement were they'd overwhelm people with love and affection and being included and being respected and cared about, and that could be both physical affection as well as verbally and platonically and everything else, and then eventually that love bombing transitions to a point where it's you feel really close and connected to this person and you're sort of dependent on their approval, and then they basically pull the rug out from underneath you and then transition into something worse, right? That could be becoming physically violent. That could be expecting somebody to participate in dangerous things, and because, well, if you really know me and you care about me and you love me, you'll do XYZ thing, right? I'm not probably explaining this really well, but that's sort of what love bombing is generally. Yeah, exactly. It's a cult it was originally a cult indoctrination technique, but it's also definitely used by relationship abusive people. I feel like the BDSM community is the next to get hit with self-policing. Oh, but don't we already self-police so much? I don't know. Is that ever stopped? Has that ever stopped? I don't think it has. I think we love there's kink shaming that comes from outside the BDSM community, where it's for example, today I saw alt-right Twitter demon Ian Miles Chong basically put out a tweet that was somebody who they were elected to like a high position within some branch of government recently, and they basically said that it was so silly. Like they said that he like I think he said that he enjoys animal sexuality, obviously indicating this person enjoys bestiality. The reality is that this person is a pet play. They're a pet player. They're a pet play handler, right? So it's like, oh my god. So like, there's definitely a lot of fear mongering still happens around BDSM. A lot of shame that comes from the outside of people assuming that such a thing is like, this thing's like CP. This thing's like bestiality. This thing's like sex trafficking. This thing's whatever, right? Any sort of negative thing you can think of, somebody's probably compared BDSM to it. Then there's the kink shaming we do as a community, where people that should know better and also have weird kinks are judging other people's weird kinks. It's like, oh, okay, so you think that MS relationships are inherently unethical, but you have a daddy kink and you enjoy whatever, right? It doesn't matter what it is. And it's just like the irony of being judgmental about something that's so funny to me, because it's like, you know, somebody from the outside is gonna think this is weird regardless. So like, what's with your grandstanding about your kink being more normal and acceptable? Because that is that even a value we should have? Like I don't think normality should. I have a fork. Sorry. Apparently, I decided I was gonna flip that fork in the air to make a point. So I think that it's just silly. We think we've always self-policed. I think if we were going to see something like that, what would it look like? What would it be about? I don't know what it would be about, because we've had ongoing debates about like age play and stuff for like literal decades at this point. And so, you know, I don't know what else would be new that isn't already part of an active discussion that would come up. But like things like that aren't going away. Like there's more age play events every year. There's more pet play events every year. You know, I question the utility of certain terms. I am not sure, you know, about the utility of things like soft dom versus gentle dom versus service top versus caregiver, right? Like I think at some point you kind of have a lot of terminology that has enough overlap that I don't know if we need to add in like new terms that, rather than being individual titles that are unique to a person, are like supposed to be understood by the community. Like sometimes I question sort of the usefulness of that, but you know, I don't kink shame people for using those labels. I'm just like, is this a necessary thing? You know, does this actually do what we want it to do? My doggo has moved. Oh god, don't buy Dogecoin. That's awful. Don't buy cryptocurrency. Don't buy NFTs. This is like, shit's dumb. Don't lose money. There's no reason. Don't buy NFTs. Please don't. Listen, to make a BDSM NFT, I'm gonna lose my shit. I'm gonna lose my mind. I'm gonna go full Hulk mode is what's gonna happen. Oh, thank you, Miss Too Cute. You have been an amazing help as I started the lifestyle. Thank you for being so nice and easy to relate to. Well, thank you so much for watching, and how exciting getting into the lifestyle. Good luck on your journey, and thanks for sharing. I know where Croatia is. Croatia is a beautiful country. I've always wanted to go to, like Slovenia and Croatia. I've always wanted to go to. I've heard good things. Sometimes I quiz myself by looking at a map of the world and seeing how much I can remember of like where different countries are. I'm very proud of my, for an American, relative level of knowledge of the location of Eastern European and Southeast Asian countries. That is not something we're taught in school, but is, I think, an important thing to know geopolitically and just for general knowledge. Oh, Jasad. He is a messy son of a bitch. Well, the thing is that stealthing's not illegal in most places. Like, it's literally in the US, only illegal in California. Because people didn't think. They were like, oh, we don't have to make this illegal because either one, it's before a time before condoms were invented, or two, that wouldn't happen. It wouldn't be a thing that we'd need to be concerned about. And yeah, here we are. So, you know, you see it. I have a question. What are Evie's thoughts on young NB people identifying as fluffies and furries? What's a fluffy? I don't know what a fluffy is. Can someone tell me what a fluffy is? Aren't these terms associated with pet play? I will say for furries, the term furry or fluffy, neither one of those are associated with pet play. Furry is its whole own community. It's not a kink thing. It's like a whole own thing. The furries aren't even. It's not like an orientation or anything. It's just like somebody that enjoys that particular art style / community / thing. You know, it's like people that are into Ren fairs, people that like Victorian costuming. You know, I don't think it's a big deal. I think people should dress however they want, and I think people should have whatever fursona their heart desires. Super cringe for sure. Oh, hello, Ace Overlord. Welcome, welcome. Haven't been on stream for a while. Happy you got to catch this one today. Yeah, thanks for being here. Not that there's anything wrong with anal, just that most men want to wear a condom for that. Oh, totally. You'd think that. I don't know if this is referring to gay men getting stealth. But certainly if you get enough lube going, it's not an issue. Personally, I prefer condoms during anal, but a lot of men just don't like wearing condoms in general. And so even if it is anal, they prefer not to wear a condom. But I don't have a penis, so I don't know what it's like to wear a condom. Well, yeah, because they don't think it's assault. They just think it's their God. They think it's their God-given right to spread their seed anywhere they want. Oh, no, not Karens. No Karens. Listen, I would love to see some, like, Karen humiliation roleplay, okay? Where, like, the humiliation bottom is pretending to be a Karen, and then they get absolutely owned by somebody. Like, the Dom is playing the role of a service worker, right? They're like, hello, ma'am, this is an Arby's. Please calm the fuck down. I want that. I want to do a Karen humiliation scene. I want to see that. I want to film it. I love everything about it. That's my opinion. Love the highlight of your makeup, the nose specifically. Oh, you know what? It's funny. I actually just put highlighter on my nose. That maybe I have highlighter here. But I think my nose is just my foundation. It's the Urban Decay Hydromaniac foundation. Silly name, pretty good coverage. It's a nice glowy foundation. It has really, really, really good look on the skin. Recommend it. Should you plan before you have a threesome? Yes. Well, okay. In general, one, what does planning mean? And two, do the people involved already know each other? Because I feel like if you are in, let's say for the sake of argument, that you have a polycule with 3 people in it who live together. And you've had threesomes before, and you've had coupled sex before, then I don't think you need to plan a threesome under those circumstances, because then it's just sort of part of normal, and it's something you've had practice, like, processing and discussing, like, not in an advanced way, but maybe in the moment, kind of discussing what you all want to do. However, if it's something that's new to you, if it's something you haven't done before, I really recommend planning it in the sense that you find somebody to do it with in advance, you have conversations with them, you have conversations as a group, you figure out what it is you're all comfortable with, you exchange STI results, you talk about condom usage, you do all of that kind of stuff. I think all of that is part of planning and should be something that you do, especially with the emotional side of things. Because let's say, again, for the sake of argument, that you are in an emotionally monogamous relationship and you want to have a threesome. It can be very difficult, especially if it's like, let's say, a female-female-male threesome. There can be a lot of feelings of jealousy, inadequacy, feeling unattractive, worried about your own performance, worried about how your partner sees you by comparison. There can be a lot of emotional things that happen with having a threesome that I think are also worth planning around, talking around, having a backup plan for, knowing how you're going to deal with them if they come up in the moment. I think that is why planning a threesome is a good idea. But obviously there are some circumstances where maybe that kind of advanced planning of a threesome is less, necessary, right? I think even if you're going into, let's say, a party where the theme of the party is like an orgy and threesome, gangbang, bukkake, whatever, just group sex, multi-partner sex is the theme of the party. That's the expectation. That's why you're going. I think if you're going, as a couple to a party like that with the intention of having a threesome, I do think it is really a good idea to plan that, at least in the sense of like you both know as a couple going into it that's what you want to do, what you want to look for, what kind of experience you want to have, what you're gonna aim for emotionally, blah blah blah. I think planning is almost always good. I know a lot of people enjoy the spontaneity of the moment. I'm not necessarily that kind of person, but other people do, and that's valid. I think in terms of what's probably better long term, I would say, because like threesomes ruin relationships. I should be really clear about that. Threesomes absolutely ruin relationships on a semi-regular basis, a lot of people don't realize emotionally, what can actually happen during a threesome. They really minimize the emotional process of it, and it can be really, really intense. So especially if you're not, a polyamorous person, you're just monogamous and want to, have a little casual threesome. I think, relative fun level, right? Spontaneous, cool threesome. Probably a little bit more fun for most people than a pre-planned threesome, unless you're really you kind of get a little bit of a foreplay element out of the planning. However, planning a threesome and then talking about your expectations and aftercare and STI results and everything else, way better than the potential negative emotional fallout and risk and relationship destroying stuff that happens when you don't plan a threesome and it goes horribly wrong and everyone feels bad and everyone's jealous and guilty and feels weird, Don't fuck up your life for having sex with one additional person at a time. It's really not that interesting. I think it's way overrated in the same way that having sex in a pool or on the beach is way overrated. That's my hottest take, really. Threesomes, overrated. People love them. People love threesomes. It's a really common fantasy. Don't get it. Then again, I don't get most sexual fantasies, so what do I know? What are your recommended other BDSM YouTubers? Yes, Loving BDSM, Kayla and John Brownstone, great people. Love Loving BDSM. Love What's the Safe Word. Love Morgan Thorne. Those are the three that I think pretty. There's a German channel called Total Versect, which is pretty good, especially if you're like a German language person who prefers to watch things. I think they're Austrian, maybe. I don't know. They may actually be Austrian, not German. But in any case, that's another one that I would recommend. But those ones are really the ones that I would recommend. If you go, actually, let me make sure this is actually something that I haven't actually looked at this in a while. So, if you go to my homepage of my YouTube channel, I can see all of you guys watching. So if you scroll all the way to the bottom, right, to on my front page, right, where I have all of my playlists for everything, featured channels. I've got some recommended channels on there you can click through. And it's got the people I recommend that I know about on YouTube. So you check that out. That's what I'd go to. Oh, there's something else I don't have on there that I probably should, which is Bondage Tuition. If you're into rope bondage content and tutorials, they have some good stuff on their channel. So those are my recommendations. Oh yeah, HPV, super common. Super, super common. I do not sell aftercare blankets. No, unfortunately. I don't make, I have my own, but I don't sell them. They take quite a lot of time. Have you read any polyamorous fiction? I know you have been reading erotica. You know what? Because group sex doesn't interest me, I have not read any polyamorous erotica or just like threesome stuff. I know, I don't remember what the name of the series is, but the first book is called The Boss. It's Abigail something, I think is the author's name. I know in the later books in that series, there is a male-female triad relationship that ends up forming that does have threesomes in it. But outside of that, it's not really something that I've really been into looking into. A lot of the books that I have read do include like maybe a scene in them that ends up with some kind of threesome, but there's not really an emotional connection between the three characters. It's just like, and then there was this hot woman with big tits that was in the sex club, and then we had sex with her, and it was fun, and that's it. Then it's over. Bye-bye. Like, you know, it's not really anything that's like has any emotional content to it. It's just like the craziness, the absolute insanity of having sex with one other person involved. Oh my goodness. How will we ever manage? But other than that, I'm assuming there's, you know, BDSM. There's polyamorous, like, romantic fiction out there. I just have not ever looked for it before. Maybe I should. I kind of worry that it would be really cringy, though, because I can't imagine that it's any different from the BDSM erotica market in that most people that are writing in that are writing in it because it's a way to make money and not because it's a lifestyle that they are a part of and are aware of in the details of, you know. But if I ever read any, if I find any that's worth recommending, I would definitely share it. Ooh, good question, Cicero. On BDSM, what are your thoughts regarding public dungeons versus private play parties? Do you prefer one or the other, and if so, why? I think in general, as a recommendation, I do recommend public dungeons more. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One, the spaces tend to be bigger. They are in public, which I think is a little bit more safe from a safety perspective. You have people that are trained there and specifically work there to monitor what people are doing and ensure things stay within the rules and stay safe. They typically don't allow and have a zero tolerance policy for things like drugs and alcohol. They typically have more educational events and social events happening before and after or around the same time as the play parties do. And it's a really good way to meet a diverse group of people within the community, not necessarily one faction of the community. Whereas with private play parties, that is a really mixed bag of experiences. Personally, I really enjoy private events when it's somebody that I already know really well and I am friends with them. If I'm friends with them already and we've hung out a bunch and we've talked and we know each other and we have seen each other a lot at other events, then like a private event that's at their house or whatever, I feel much more comfortable going to. But just a random private BDSM house party is a huge no. Because a lot of the abusive stories that I read involving BDSM involve private play parties because there's less oversight. People generally don't have people that are specifically there to monitor for safety things. When something does go wrong, people are much more reluctant to call for help because they don't want to get the homeowner in trouble. It could be that the homeowner has ulterior motives. Maybe he's using the play party as a way to groom potential young people or new submissives for themselves. It can just be like when it's bad, play parties that are private at people's homes are way worse than play parties that are bad at public dungeons, like in terms of the risk factor between the two. So that's sort of my opinion on that. But I think also at the same time, private play parties, especially when you're doing things you can't normally do in dungeons, and that's sort of the main difference is like operating a public dungeon is usually pretty expensive. And so they tend to cater the events they have around what will, excuse me. Okay. Well, something for the sneezing fetishist there. No, just kidding. That was an actual sneeze. I don't know. Can't already be time again for allergies, right? It's only February. That's not fair. But public dungeons, because of the fact they have to basically at least make enough money to meet their operating costs, right? You know, the cost for the commercial lease on the space, heating and cooling, the electricity, paying for the snacks, paying for the insurance, paying, you know, all the other things you have to pay for to operate a public dungeon. Because they have so much more in terms of expense for operating those things, they tend to only have the parties that are the most popular. And so that can mean it's really hard for niche groups to be able to have events catered to them at a public dungeon, right? This is also why pet player nights and little nights tend to happen at the same time in dungeons, is because those groups separately wouldn't bring up enough people to be able to justify the cost of the event. But if you have, you know, a dungeon and it's like half littles and half pets, then maybe that's enough people to sort of make it worth it, you know. So private play spaces mean, especially if you have somebody who's really into one particular kink and wants to have, you know, a night or an event themed around that, you know, having something like a private protocol dinner or cigar service or food play or stuff you can't normally have at dungeons, right? Like certain types of electro play, fire play, lit candles, food play, wet and messy play, you know, bodily fluids, right? You know, blood, urine, etc. Those things are maybe more likely to, one, be legal and then also happen at a private play party versus at a dungeon. So, you know, overall, as a general recommendation, I would definitely go to a public dungeon first over a private play party. But there are some advantages to going to the private play party for sure. Yes, I've heard very good things about the Black Rose in DC. Never been in the kink community in DC before. Don't really know about it personally, but for people in the Maryland, DC, Nova area, I've heard good stuff. For if you're looking for toy recommendations, guys, you know what? Again, I have that. It's in the FAQ down below. Please read that. I'm not gonna get into my. There's literally hundreds of places online you can buy BDSM equipment from, depending on what you're looking for. So I'm not going to get into that too much. I would say my personal favorites. For gags, I like Self Delve, which is a German company. For you know, I like Church of Invention. I like Firebird Leather. You know, those ones would probably be my top favorites for just general stuff. But there's so many, literally, again, hundreds of places you can go to. How do you plan a threesome? I feel like I talked about this. Talk to the people you're doing a threesome with. Talk about STI testing. Get STI testing. Share your results. Talk about condom usage. Talk about birth control. Talk about your limits and boundaries for what it is you want to do and what it is you don't want to do. Talk about when and where it's going to happen. Talk about the emotional side of things, how you plan to deal with that fallout. And I feel like that's really the core stuff. Going to my first large con, Dark Odyssey Winter Fire. I have very limited BDSM experience, and I'm a senior citizen. I'm a sub and a Switch. How do people connect for play at a large con? Any suggestions? I have been to Winter Fire before, actually. It's been many years at this point. Winter Fire, good time. Lots of different people go there, all age groups. I think you're going to be in for a fun time. For connecting with people at a large convention, check out the schedule for the event. There's almost always some kind of set up social room or social event happening over the course of the day. That could be discussion groups, that could be lunch meetups, that could be special interest group meetings, that could be icebreaker games, that could be you know, a cigar and whiskey social events. That could be a silent auction. I don't know what they're doing at Dark Odyssey Winter Fire this year, so I can't really give specific things, but look out for those social events on the calendar for the event. Definitely take advantage of those, especially if it's during a part of the day when you normally, you know, maybe wouldn't really be doing anything else. FetLife, if you don't have a FetLife account, definitely get on there. I know for most large conventions, there is basically a thread that they will do for like making connections prior to the event. So if you want to look for somebody for play, if you want to get to know people ahead of time and then meet them there, connecting over FetLife can be really good, but also physically at the convention itself if you don't really use FetLife. From what I remember from when I went to Dark Odyssey Winterfire, I want to say that they had some kind of like actual physical like message board that you could say, hey, here's my name, here's my FetLife, send a message to me if you want to do XYZ thing. Like, hey, my name's Evie, here's my FetLife name, you know, experienced submissive, looking for XYZ experience, you know, contact me if interested, whatever. You know, basically like a you know, the equivalent of an old-timey newspaper advertisement, essentially. So I would look for that. But lots of ways to connect with people. You know, even after classes, if you take a class with someone and you're sort of at the stage of the class where it's ended, you haven't gone to the next place yet, that can be a really good time to stop and talk to people. Okay, so just as a warning here, we have about 15 minutes left, so if you haven't asked your question yet, please do. And if you want to make sure I answer it, super chat. That's the best way to make sure I get to your question. Okay. All right, let me adjust myself here. Oh, the caffeine's wearing off, and I feel really tired right now. I'm crashing. May I also be hungry? Not sure. Maybe I should get Taco Bell. That's probably, honestly, I'm pretty sure I want Taco Bell because using the Taco Bell like commercial noise with the like the bell that goes da-da, like that's been a meme now. It's just like, no, I just think of Taco Bell. It's Taco Bell. Taco Bell psyoping is what we're dealing with here. Psychological torture. All right, we're getting a blanket on is what we're gonna do. All right. Entering the comfort zone. Okay, so Latif says, I'm having trouble dealing with a brat. It's hard for me to punish her considering we live on opposite sides of the country. Okay, so long distance. Not sure how to deal with her brattiness because we live so far away. Okay. I'm going to give it to you straight, Latif. Holy shit, what the fuck was that? It's like somebody fucking... That was a really loud noise. It sounded like somebody fucking dropped a couch from like a third-story building. Okay. It's because I said that Taco Bell was doing a psyop. They're coming for me. They know I'm in on it. They know I figured it out. You know what? People always say that Taco Bell is trouble, but because I'm vegan, I don't know. I've never had trouble with Taco Bell. I've always found that very strange that people say that about Mexican food and Taco Bell. I'm like... I don't know.
Taco Bell donated $5.
Ah!
As a vegan,
it's like your name's Taco Bell. What do you get at Taco Bell? I'm gonna be honest. Usually, I get a bean burrito with obviously no cheese, no sour cream, and tomato and lettuce. Or actually, I think it's the Crunch Wrap Supreme. I think is vegan. I know some of the Taco Bells are supposed to have Beyond Meat, but not the ones that are like around here. Let's see, Taco Bell. I think it's I very rarely go to Taco Bell, so I do not remember the names of their items because they're all inexplicable and make no sense. Yes, the Crunch Wrap Supreme. If you get it without the cheese sauce and the sour cream, and you like add in like guacamole or something, then it's vegan. Oh, I like the Power Bowl, actually. The Power Bowl's pretty good. And then I just, instead of having the cheese and the sour cream, I just get extra tomatoes and refried beans in addition to the black beans. Or potatoes. Actually, get the Power Bowl. Get potatoes instead of cheese and extra tomatoes instead of sour cream. It's a good combo. That's what I get. Thank you for the very important Taco Bell question. So Latif, disciplining a brat from far away is really hard. And this is the thing. Having a sustainable long distance relationship means that she has to be willing to discipline herself. And if she is not participating in the discipline, she is not holding up her end of the bargain of having a DS relationship with you. Or whatever kind of relationship you guys have. I don't know. Because there's not, like... I mean, you can get into some potentially unethical territory with punishment, right? Like, you know, if you don't listen to the rules, then... you know, if you have like a regularly assigned like a Zoom time or face chat time or whatever else, maybe those privileges get revoked. Maybe no FaceTime call. Maybe no good morning, good night from daddy or dom or whatever your title is. But yeah, long distance bratting and like I don't even know how that would work, to be honest, because I kind of struggle in general with long distance BDSM as like a sustainable concept. I know some people do it. I don't like it involves the submissive basically having to self-discipline, and because bratting typically is contrary to that, it's really hard I think to do that in a sustainable fashion. Of like, if she decides she doesn't want to play along and you're not around to make her do it, like, then there's not enough structure there. You know, it's like you can, have a hologram or whatever do it for you. But if anyone is listening here happens to have a long distance brat based relationship and knows how to make that work, feel free to chime in. But like honestly, I think it's like if you're in that position, I really think you have to have like an outside of the relationship, like by that I mean outside of the dynamic conversation, which is basically you have to say like, hey, I like being in a relationship with you, but I don't think that you bratting the way that you do is like sustainable for our relationship while we're being long term. So like, is that something that we can work around or what? And I know that there might be sort of an anxiety around making you feel like, oh, maybe that means that I'm not dom enough or whatever else. And if they try to fucking tell you that means you're not dom enough or that means you're not a real dom or whatever, fuck them. They deserve to be broken up with. Like, that's such bullshit. And yeah, it's just... It's just something where it's like, you gotta know when to brat and when not to brat and when it goes too far. And that's, a tricky line to walk at times. But you gotta, at a basic level, you have to be willing to, hold up your end of the bargain. And if you're not willing to do that, then like, guess what? Sorry, you don't get to have a BDSM relationship. It's a two-way street that has to be sustained by both people, even if you're a brat. All right. I don't think I've had most before. But yeah, I'm sorry you're dealing with that. I really hope that if I don't know if you have like a time in your relationship when you can talk outside of being in your dynamic together, but I would really encourage that and just let them know like, hey, this isn't working for me. This isn't really sustainable. Because hopefully if they can do BDSM ethically, they would know how to rein in the brattiness at least a little bit and know when it's going too far. And it has to be something that you also get fulfillment out of. And if you're not, and they're just bratting at you, and you're kind of just trying to deal with it as opposed to enjoying it, that's probably not going to be sustainable. Where the fuck are my mods? Okay, there we go. We have gotten things taken care of with the spam. Okay, cool. The way my partner and I used to do the long distance bratting is that they could brat if they wanted to, but they had to agree in negotiations and self-discipline, and I had to truly trust them to follow up. Yeah. So if you've done that, if you have negotiated that they have to self-discipline, and you can come up with ways they have to prove that they've self-disciplined, right? You can do it on camera, you can do it over a video call, you can have them take pictures, etc. someone just knock on my door? Oh, I see. Okay, Streamlab. Okay. It's a Streamlabs thing. Let me make sure that someone is... Okay, I don't think it's... I think that was just a noise that sounded like knocking. It wasn't listening. There's been a lot of random... There's been a lot of random scary noises happening. It's like... Am I in the beginning of a horror movie right now? I don't understand what's going on here. Maybe I'm hallucinating. I don't know. But yeah, I think you have to be really careful when you're trying to like navigate that. So if you have negotiated ahead of time with the brat that they have to be able to self-discipline and they can't, okay, well then you're breaking the terms of the relationship, and either the expectations have to be renegotiated, or the framework of the relationship, i.e., continuing to do a bratting based dynamic, like has to be reconsidered. You know. That's just along the short of it, you know, because if they're not holding up their end of the bargain, you know, you don't get to have your bratting cake and eat your bratting cake too. I don't know. Probably if you told a brat you can eat this whole cake, they'd probably say no and then do it in secret later. That feels like a bratting thing to do. There's a 3 or so hour long video of paint drying. I wonder what that would look like if you sped it up. Like, what if you did a video on paint drying? First of all, great idea for sensory deprivation torture. That sounds like a fun time to me, to top at least. But what does it look like if you speed up paint drying to like 10 times speed? You know, do a sort of a planet Earth treatment of watching flowers bloom in spring, but it's paint drying. Maybe somebody is moving. I guess it is Friday night. That's a time. It's dark though. Oh, whatever. Trust is important in any relationship, but especially long distance and bratting. Absolutely. If you don't have the basis of trust in that relationship, and then the evidence you have is them violating that trust, then like, yeah, it's really not sustainable. No. So, as far as I can tell from the research, people who participate in BDSM do not have a higher likelihood of having previously been sexually assaulted. So, it's a misconception. People think that BDSM is related to past trauma experience, and it's not. I think people in the community tend to be more open with discussing that, frankly, because it's an important part of, you know, having informed kink activities is knowing, you know, about potential past trauma and triggers and such like. So it's more common that it'll be discussed. It's basically less hidden, but it's not actually any more common. It's just like less judged, basically. So at the same time this person was asking me about movie reviews, I just talked about doing the movie review. Yes. So, okay, nobody, I will literally block this so no one can ask me about it. I will watch Love Unleashes. I will do a review about it. If anybody asked about it, tell them that I'm doing a review and I'm going to watch the movie, but to be patient. That's all I gotta say about that. Personally, I don't really have a super high pain tolerance. It depends on the activity. No. I also don't really do that much stuff that's like masochistic, especially because, you know, I haven't really been able to do BDSM stuff for the past couple of years because COVID. You know, at least in a dungeon setting, which I much prefer. If I'm going to do anything with impact play, I way prefer to do it in a dungeon than doing it at home. So, sort of limits my options there. We have seasons in LA: mudslide, searing heat, Santa Ana, and spring. That sounds like a great time. Oh, the mudslide season, my favorite. Oh my God. Wow. Arizona House Bill 2161 mandating that teachers must notify parents if a student expresses anything suggesting they're gay, bi, or trans. How many kids have this hurt or worse? That's awful. Oh my God. Because first of all, how the fuck are teachers supposed to know what's going on? Like, just because a kid comes into class wearing painted nails doesn't mean that, like, he's gay. It could just mean that, like, his little sister painted his nails earlier that week, right? Like, and doesn't have nail polish remover and doesn't know how to take it off. Like, whatever. It doesn't have to mean anything. That's silly. I'm glad I don't live in Arizona. Sounds like a nightmare both in terms of weather and politics. The Minawashi people, I don't think are great people. I've heard kind of bad things about them as business partners, not necessarily kink ethics, but as business partners. So I am not confident I'd recommend them, but they are very popular nonetheless. Oh, you know what it is that I'm hearing? It's people opening and closing the stairway. That's what it is. Because it's really close to my door, and so like I hear it whenever anybody opens and closes it, and it freaks me out because it sounds like somebody's opening my door. Well, if I get murdered on stream, at least you guys will be able to, report it to the police or whatever. God, that would be bad. Where's my puppy? Where's my little baby? Oh, she went back to bed. She's in her bed. Good. Yeah, her leg's doing a lot better now. But we're getting the actual formal checkup in 2 days. 3 days, actually. 14th. So, I'm very excited about that. I think I will just be content to have answers if there are answers and know what the next steps are if anything needs to change. So, I'm looking forward to getting that done and hopefully, smooth sailing from here. I am a brand new. Okay, so I'm gonna answer 2 more questions. This is gonna be second to last one. It's from Lance. I am a brand new dom for my wife, and I need help finding a mentor. Where can I find a mentor? So there is no definitive place where you can find a mentor, unfortunately. There are no organizations, training programs that I would recommend as like a do this and then you know everything you're gonna need to know. I recommend, and mentorship used to be more of the way, back in the 70s and 80s when we didn't really have a, oh, thank you. I'm glad that you enjoyed the stream.
M donated $10. Thank you. Great job.
Out here just trying my best. And we're up to $200 now. Look at that. Which is really good because the Panasonic is about to announce its next newest camera in their Lumix line. So I may be getting a pretty significant upgrade here in a minute. I'm pretty excited about it. So, mentorship used to be much more common back in the day because that was really the only way that you could share skills like this because books like this, the only option was traditional publishing or zines, basically. So it was really, really hard to share information and education. I really don't think you need that now. I think actually mentorship, unless you're really involved in a local community space and can meet people face to face on a regular basis, it can be more trouble than it's worth. Most people that are very willing to be mentors and are easily found are typically not the best mentors because they're doing it as an ego boost and they're doing it because, they basically want to like teach people their like one way of doing BDSM. I think it's much better to get information on the particular things that you want to know about from diverse sources. There are lots and lots and lots and lots of books about BDSM, lots of YouTube channels, lots of podcasts, lots of great ways to get information that you can engage in at your own pace. And then just, I think being involved in your local community, if you have one, if you can meet people in person, that's a really, really great way to get information. There's lots of online classes as well. Wicked Grounds is a really good place to look for those classes. Lee Harrington, Midori, those are other educators that also offer online classes. If you go on FetLife, Kinky Facebook, is how people usually refer to it as. A really great way to find online classes on there. There's so many options for education. I really don't think there's any reason to look for a mentor at this point because one mentor cannot teach you everything you need to know. And I think having diverse sources actually generally serves people a lot better. So, what is it? It's Anton something. What is his name? And it's called the Dominance Playbook. Yeah, it's Anton Fullman. Has 2 books. Dominance Playbook is a little bit more the advanced one. But I would definitely look into... Let's see, what is his other book? Because I want to make sure I recommend both of them. So it's the Dominance Playbook by Anton Fullman. And then he has another book that he wrote a little bit earlier that's more of like an intro for like new doms. Why is this in Spanish? Anyways, The Heart of Dominance. There's also the Loving Dominant. There's also the new Topping book. Again, 3rd time's the charm, I guess, in this live stream. Link down below. I have an FAQ where I go over my recommended books. Those are some really good places to start if you like books. A lot of them also have audiobook versions if you prefer more of an auditory experience. There's lots of really good BDSM podcasts. And you know what? If you hear something and you're not really sure about it, you can always Google search something. You can always fact check. And that's why it's really good to get multiple sources of information. Because with a mentorship, it's really easy to just take what those people say as being the true and correct thing, because obviously they're so important and they're listening. That's what they're saying has to be true. Whereas I think when you're kind of hearing things from a lot of different places, it's easier to kind of discern, okay, like this person says this and this person says this, who's right, lots of good resources out there these days is kind of the point. Oh God, Collar Me is the MySpace of don't recommend going on there at all. It's just nothing. It's nothing but bots at this point. It's not worth being on in any way. Yeah, Collar Me is the MySpace of kink, as in it's a dead social media platform. But FetLife of the 3 for sure. The Cage is weird. Collar Me is MySpace. FetLife is not as good as it used to be, but for the most part, I think is still the best of the 3 options. All right, one really quick question here. Oh, there you go, perfect.
Creative Authority donated $10. I try to sustain a brat-free zone, and it has worked out pretty well. I hope that the pup is doing well, and she'll protect you from all intruders.
Yes.
Great discussion as always, smiley face.
The reason why I'm not worried about it is because Bandita is very good at detecting things. He's a really good finder, and she knows when people are actually at the door. So if she's not moving, if she's staying comfortable and asleep, I know I'm not in any actual danger. So she's not physically able to defend me, but as far as an early warning system is concerned, she's pretty good. So yes, she's a very good little puppo. Love her so much. I will clone her. That's gonna happen. I will clone my dog. Oh man, sorry guys. I totally didn't get to. That's a phrase, right? I didn't get to. English is a funny language, isn't it? I didn't get to all the questions, so I gotta see if I can find really, really quick one here. Okay, I answered that one about furries. No, furries are not pet players. I do have merch, you're right. I do have merch. Not blankets, though. Why can't you please go back to no filters and just a phone cam? The setup was hard to concentrate on, no offense. Are you new here? Who the fuck are you? I've never done live streams from a phone camera. What? I'm sorry it's hard for you to concentrate on, but you did not dictate my live streams, random viewer. And there's no filters. This is just the camera. So weird. So funny. Never can make everyone happy. I like my stream setup. I do this for me, bitch. I like that there's flowers in the background and the chat's purple. We're just talking about thruples now. There is Del Taco actually, but not where I live. You have to go a little bit farther to get to a Del Taco. I have had it before. Oh, okay, great question to end on. Do bratty masters and bratty mistresses exist? Technically, I don't think if they were, they would use the label, but I think D-types can be brats. It's not really an assigned label that they would identify with, but I think they can be bratty as a personality characteristic. Yes, there's lots of people who are both furries and pet players, but they're not the same thing. Oh, Bentita is doing great. We went on a walk yesterday. She loved it. She's a little sleepy right now, as she normally gets around this time. But I know as soon as I say goodbye to the live stream, she's gonna be like, time to do things. But she's doing great. Yeah, super great. Do you think she did anything? Did you do anything exciting today? Or this week? We've been going on more walks, which he's really enjoyed because the weather's been nice again. Yeah, she's doing good. Just hanging out, having a fun time. All right, well, I think that's going to be it for today, guys. That is everything we have for the live stream today because I am crashing hardcore and I need to eat food. So I'm going to do that probably and clean out my fridge and I don't know. Do something. But in any case, again, that is it for tonight, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for hanging out with me. Definitely look out for doing the Love and Leashes watch-along commentary live stream thing at some point around Valentine's Day. I think that's going to be a really fun time. And if you haven't watched the most recent video, please do. There will be one this weekend. And I will talk to you all again soon. Bye.